Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Building Your Personal Brand for Your Job Search webinar. My name is Marley, and I'm the marketing manager for Prepped, and I'm so happy to be speaking today. A personal brand is so important to the success of your job search, and I'm so excited to dive deeper on the topic with you. So in the chat, I'd like everyone to comment, if you feel comfortable, who you think has a great personal brand. It can be a friend, a family member, a celebrity, an influencer, or even yourself. Elon Musk, that's a great one. Serena Williams, another great one. These are all so great. Michelle Obama, I love it. I love it. Perfect. Okay, so what is a personal brand? The best way to describe it is it's a representation of who you are. It's a conscious, intentional effort to create a perception of yourself, a full circle representation of your skills, your experiences, your values, and your passions. So overall, it'll show potential employers why you're a great fit for a specific position. A personal brand is important because it helps you stand out from the crowd. During the job search, you want to make sure you have the skills and experience, but you also want to leave a lasting impression. A personal brand adds uniqueness to your image and actually helps with networking too. Your connections and your connections will notice your profiles, whether it's on LinkedIn or another professional profile of choice, and you'll be more open to having networking conversations if you have a professional and branded profile. So think of this like a storefront. If you see the front of a store that looks professional and personable, you'd be more inclined to shop there, right? So now that we know what a personal brand is and why it's important, let's discuss the components that make a personal brand strong. The first component is utilizing your skills and your passions to promote yourself. A personal brand should reflect what you're capable of doing and what you're truly passionate about. The second component is making sure your personal brand is unique to you. You're unlike anybody else, and your personal brand should reflect that. And the third component is making sure the overall message and tone of your personal brand is clear and consistent. You want your message to be easy to understand and consistent across all of your documents and networking profiles. And I just want to take a moment to discuss the importance of an overall tone or message in your personal brand. You're probably thinking, what does it mean to add my tone or my voice? So to simplify it, we all have a voice. Think of what kind of emotion you want your audience to feel when they look or read your personal brand. What's the tone you want to bring when you first enter a room? Write that down. Add that feeling into your messaging. All of these components and steps to creating a personal brand are important. Most importantly, they're unique to you, so have fun with it. So a few moments ago, I asked you all to reflect on who you think has a strong personal brand. I like to look at a few examples and we'll go over who they are and why they have a strong personal brand. So first up is Brene Brown. So Dr. Brene Brown is a research professor at the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work, as well as the author of the best-selling book, Daring Greatly, How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. You might also know her from her famous TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. And if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend it. I think if you actually just go on Google and type Brene Brown, her TED Talk will come up, and I truly, truly recommend you take a look at watching it. So, why does she have a strong personal brand? Brene uses her skills as an educator and a writer to share her research with millions of people worldwide. Whether it's a lecture at the university or through a TED Talk or through books, Brene is passionate about teaching people about how they live their lives better, all backed by her own research. So she uses her unique style of storytelling to present her research and actually describes herself as a storyteller. You'll probably notice that during the TED Talk, she literally starts it with, I'm a storyteller. I'm a researcher and a professor, but I like to tell stories. So by captivating her audiences, she's able to share her findings in a clear and concise way that makes all of her research very easy to understand. Second up is Lolly Daskal. So Lolly has been one of the most influential women in the world, and she's one of the most highly regarded thought leaders in business. Her engaging talks on leadership, peak performance, and business growth have motivated and inspired audiences to unleash their greatness. So, why does she have a strong personal brand? Dolly uses her entrepreneurial skills and passion for public speaking to build her personal brand. Her passion for growing businesses and greatness within people is one of the many reasons why she's known as an innovative teacher. Her personal brand evokes power, leadership, and peak performance. It's a strong personal brand because she's actually really passionate about her work and she values helping others become their best selves. She's unique by bringing her skills and experiences as an entrepreneur and combines it with the power of unleashing confidence and greatness in others to deliver a truly exceptional experience. Her message is clear, it's concise, and it's across all of her platforms the same. So you'll notice the messaging in her books are consistent with how she leads and directs presentation. And that's when we bring it back to when you update your resume or your cover letter. That's really what we're trying to get at is when you have a strong personal brand, you want to make sure that it's consistent across everything. And last but not least, I know you're all going to likely know who this is, Oprah Winfrey. So you might know Oprah as the American talk show host, but she's also an actress, a television producer, a media executive, and a philanthropist. She's actually been dubbed the queen of all media, and she was the richest African American of the 20th century and America's first Black multi-billionaire. And she has been ranked the greatest Black philanthropist in American history. And by 2007, she was ranked one of the most influential women in the world. That was a mouthful, all of her qualifications. So why does she have a personal brand? I think that's pretty clear, but let's dive into it a little bit. So she uses her skills as a public speaker, her passion for philanthropy, and her large audience to discuss important political and social issues. Her personal brand is so successful because she's truly authentic, hardworking, and she doesn't take no for an answer. She pivots. So like I previously mentioned, Oprah has a lot of experience in media and uses her experience as a journalist, talk show host, and executive to raise awareness to important social issues. This provides her personal brand with consistency and strong messaging across multiple platforms like social media, television, and writing. So let's round up all of this into one simple checklist. On this slide, you'll see a checklist of items that you can consider the things you'll need to start your own personal brand. It's quite literally a summary of everything we've discussed so far during this webinar. The first check is to complete is get to know yourself. There are many ways of doing this, but I would suggest you log into your Prepped account and complete the self-assessment located in the Know Your Strengths module in our learning library. I'll dive deeper on this later. Throughout your self-assessment, you'll likely notice you have your own messaging style or tone of writing and speaking. This should be consistent throughout your personal brand. We've already discussed the importance of developing that tone or messaging style, and it's totally okay if it takes time. The more you develop your personal brand, the more you'll learn about yourself and you'll develop that voice organically. So no rush, you'll figure it out. From there, you want to make sure all of your job search materials reflect your brand. So this includes your resume, your cover letter, your professional networking profiles. This is super important during the job search because recruiters and hiring managers will notice the effort you put into creating these pieces. And it'll be easier for them to understand your skills, experiences, your values, and why you're applying to the specific role. But more importantly, why you're the right candidate. To take your application a step further, consider exploring our elevator pitch module, where you can build and practice your elevator pitch for interviews and networking. It only takes a few minutes, and you'll leave with the exercise confident in your speaking abilities, and you'll have an elevator pitch ready to help you during the job search process. Last but not least, as we grow, so does our personal brand, and that's totally fine. You'll learn new skills, you'll grow as a person, and it's important to refine and update your personal brand as required. That'll ensure it's up to date and cohesive with your true self. So, what's next? Where do you start? And how does it all come together? So if you look at the handout section in the webinar, it should come up slowly. I believe it's sharing now. You'll find a handy self-assessment exercise that's been created by the prep team. Think of it as a quick exercise to help you learn a little bit more about your skills, your values, and your passions. That'll in turn help you develop the foundation of your personal brand. There's a couple of screenshots on the slide. You'll notice we have a bunch of questions that help you really get to know yourself. So identifying your skills and capabilities, helping you visualize them, and identifying any of your values. So it's a very fun exercise that I really encourage you to complete. The next step you could do is to visit fullyprepped.ca to complete the Know Your Strengths exercise in our learning library. The darker image on the screen, you'll notice that it's our menu on our website. It's actually just the first one at the top, Learning Library. So if you click on that and you scroll down a tiny, tiny bit, you'll notice the Know Your Strengths. During this exercise, you'll be able to complete the workplace personality assessment, and you'll understand the kind of person you are, what professional situation best suits you. Once you've completed that exercise, the second exercise is all about skills and capabilities. And that exercise will identify what your skills and capabilities are and how they're a strength to you as a successful candidate. And the third, you'll uncover your hidden strengths. This one is my personal favorite because it's all about thinking about outside the box during your job search and how your current skills are transferable to roles you might not have known you were qualified for or interested in. So if I were to think back about when I was working in retail back in college, I worked at a clothing store, and I was we called it a key holder. So it was technically kind of like a manager, except without the manager title. So during this role, I would help our employees with problem solutions. We would do a lot of sales, and I would do a lot of budgeting for the store. I didn't know then, but these skills came in handy later on as a leadership quality. And I didn't really look at it as a leadership position because it's kind of like I was working with my friends. We were all there together, but it really did help me learn a lot about leadership, how to solve problems quickly. So in addition to these great exercises, we have a ton of other great prepped resources. Like our previously mentioned elevator pitch generator, we have resume and email templates, and even My Plan, which is a great weekly job search plan to guide you on your path to job search success. So thank you so much. I will try to answer as many questions as I can that have been asked throughout the webinar. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@fullyprepped.ca, and I will dive into some questions here. Okay, so I see one from Cassandra. The question is, how do you reflect your personal brand in your resume? So this is a fantastic question because not everybody knows how to do that. And there are many ways to do it. The first step would be your tone and messaging. So like we discussed earlier, the tone and messaging of your personal brand is very important, and it has to be consistent across all. So for your resume, just make sure you're using the correct keywords to identify yourself and that apply to the role you're applying to. Another thing you can do is also add some design to your resume. You'll notice in our resume templates and even in our email templates or cover letter templates, there are some really great designed resumes that you can use, and you can even customize them to your favorite color if you want, add a splash of color to make it more about your personality. Deborah, I see you asked, is it like a portfolio? You can kind of look at it like a portfolio, I would say. Your personal brand, it's really a representation of who you are. It's got your experience with your work experience or your volunteer experience. It's got your values and what you're passionate about. So the more you reflect that across, your resume, your social profiles, it'll really look like a portfolio, but in reality, it's just your resume and how you present yourself. Debbie, how do we make sure it's unique to me, as there's a good chance we share similarities with other people? Absolutely. You will always have something in common with somebody, but being unique to you is just being true to yourself. So think about what you really value, think about what you're passionate about, what your skills and strengths are, and that will be unique to you. It's okay if you have the same strengths as anybody else, but you're your true self, and coming out like that will help you stand out in the job search. Are extroverts valued more than introverts when we talk about personal branding? Absolutely not. No. If you're an extrovert or an introvert, it's not more valued at all. It's literally just about the way that you present yourself. And it honestly just helps you during the job search because it looks like a carefully packaged brand that you can present to your potential employer or recruiter. So it's not more valued, I would say. I would say it depends on your situation and where you're at in your job search. Okay, are there any other questions? Natasha, so far, some of them are strong public speakers. That's very true. So in our examples, a lot of them are public speakers. And I think one of the reasons for that is because their audiences are so big. So if you think of Oprah, she's got a very, very large audience. So she just uses her skills as a public speaker to reach out to her audience. Same with Brene and Dolly as well. So no, you don't need to have a strong personal brand with being a public speaker. You can have a strong personal brand without that quality. I, for one, am not a strong public speaker in front of a large audience, but I've built my personal brand around my creativity and what is unique to me. Amanda, how do you develop a brand that isn't already a cliche? So I think this question, the way that I would think of this question is, if it's unique to you and who you are, it won't be a cliche. Because the way that you're presenting yourself when you apply is, these are my skills, this is what I enjoy doing, this is why I'm applying to this role. So it won't be cliche because it's true to you, and if anything, it'll be more of a packaged value to the recruiter. Ava, nice to see you on here. Should we tailor our personal brand to match the necessary skills needed for our job searches? This is a fantastic question. So my suggestion for this is, when you're writing your cover letter or resume, it would be a great idea for you to personalize it for the job that you're applying for. Your personal brand, however, doesn't have to reflect that specific job because it's true to you, right? So you look at your personality and obviously your skills and whatnot. When you're applying in your cover letter, address it to the person you're applying to, whether it's the hiring manager or the recruiter. So yes, make it personal to that role, but your job search, it hasn't, I mean, your personal brand doesn't have to do with the actual job you're applying for. Okay, so I'm going to, let me see. Most of the time, people aren't as good as assessing themselves. Studies have shown that those who are incompetent are the most likely to rate themselves higher on the scale. Oh, this one's about imposter syndrome. Okay, how can we make sure that our self-assessment is accurate as possible? This is also another great question. So when you're filling out the handout, the self-assessment, it's great to be as honest as possible. Be honest with yourself and even ask your friends. You can ask your friends and your family for their opinions. What do you think my skills are? And you know what? Most of the time, they might mention some skills that you didn't necessarily know that you had. So ask around, ask your friends, ask your family, be honest with yourself. And imposter syndrome is totally okay. I think that happens a lot when you're beginning your career. But the more that you develop the experience, the more you'll know that you're right where you need to be. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for attending. If there are any questions that I haven't addressed, don't worry, I will reach out to you in the next 48 hours with answers to all of your questions. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a fantastic afternoon.